Good evening, everyone. I'll call this meeting of Stratford City Council to order. And we'll begin this evening's meeting with a moment of silent reflection. And I'd ask that we all think of those in the Ukraine who are, of course, suffering under terrible conditions, and the worldwide response that all of us can play a part in as we think of those in need and we think of how we can help in our community and in the world community. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Your Worship. Item 2 is declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations? And if so, please state the general nature thereof.
Seeing none.
Item 3 is adoption of the minutes, and there is a motion that the special minutes dated February 7th and the regular minutes dated February 14th of Council of the Corporation of the City of Stratford be adopted as printed.
Moved by Councillor Ritzman, second by Councillor Bunting. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried.
Item 4 is adoption of the addendum, and there is no addendum to today's agenda. So moving to item 5, report of the Committee of the Whole in camera session. Item 5.1, the February 16th Committee of the Whole in camera session was canceled. Moving to item 5.2, just prior to today's council meeting, an in-camera session was held to consider the following item. That's item 4.1, update on negotiations with the Stratford Professional Firefighters Association. And that was under the Labor Relations or Employee Negotiations exemption under the Municipal Act. And at the in-camera session, direction was given. Moving to item 6, hearings of deputations and presentations. There are none scheduled. So item 7 is orders of the day, and item 7.1 is a proclamation for the Stratford Winter Pride Weekend. And there is a motion that Stratford City Council hereby proclaims March 18th to 21st, 2022 as Stratford Winter Pride Weekend in the City of Stratford to celebrate Stratford Winter Pride, Love is Love.
Moved by Councillor Burbach and seconded by Councillor Vasilakos that the proclamation be adopted. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried unanimously.
Item 7.2 is a resolution regarding restricted acts in a municipal election year. And there is a staff recommendation that the report titled the Restricted Acts in Municipal Election Year 2022 be received, that the delegation of authority bylaw as amended be further amended to delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer or the Director of Corporate Services to make unbudgeted expenditure, incur any other liability, or to purchase required assets for the efficient and effective management of the municipal corporation during any restricted acts periods, that the council delegated authority outlined above be limited to an amount of over $50,000 up to a maximum of $150,000 excluding applicable HST, that the Chief Administrative Officer or the Director of Corporate Services communicate with council following the use of the above noted delegated authority, and that the delegation of authority bylaw be further amended to delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer to improve employee hirings and terminations at any level during any restricted acts periods. That policy H119 as amended be further amended to reflect the delegation of authority to the Chief Administrative Officer to approve employee terminations at any level during any restricted acts periods. And that the Chief Administrative Officer communicate with council following the use of the delegated authority to hire or terminate employees at any level during a restricted acts period.
Moved by Councillor Gaffney and seconded by Councillor Ingram. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Item 7.3 is a resolution regarding the Stratford Live Music and Food. The Stratford Live Music and Food organizers have requested designation of the 2022 Stratford Live Music and Food event, formerly Stratford Blues and Ribfest, to be held June 17th and 19th, 2022 in the York Street parking lot around the Veterans Drive Bandshell, as a municipally significant event for the purpose of attaining a liquor license. Comments received from departments were noted on the agenda. And there is a motion that City Council hereby designates the Stratford Live Music and Food event to be held June 17 to 19, 2022 in the York Street parking lot and on Veterans Drive as having municipal significance for the purpose of obtaining liquor licenses from the AGCO, subject to the necessary permits being obtained, compliance with the city's municipal alcohol risk policy, and the required certificates of insurance being provided.
Moved by Councillor Henderson, second by Councillor Bunting. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Item 7.4 is correspondence, and there is a motion that the correspondence from the Huron-Perth Healthcare Alliance dated February 15th in support of official plan amendment OPA 03-21 and zone change application Z11-21 for 30 Queensland Road be received for information.
Moved by Councillor Beatty, second by Councillor Burback. Councillor Seven.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I guess I'm looking for an amendment to the motion. I guess just because the letter it states that it's in support of let's see, residential development, but it does say in the letter that they won't comment specifically on an opinion on this development. And I did reach out to Dr. Williams and with sort of my concerns about how it's presented in the agenda, and he just reiterated that they will not be having an opinion or stating an opinion on the zoning amendment itself. So I'm just wondering if we could amend the motion to receive the letter in support of residential development rather than in support of the official plan amendment.
Okay. It is mover and seconder agree to the amendment as proposed. Madam Clerk, can you read back who the mover and seconder was?
So through your worship, it's my understanding the motion was moved by Councillor Beatty and seconded by Councillor Burback.
The mover and seconder agree with that wording?
That's fine.
Councillor Burback will agree. So the motion would then be that the correspondence from the Huron-Perth Healthcare Alliance dated February 15th, 2022 in support of residential housing in the community of Stratford be received for information. Is everyone okay with that? Councillor Seven, does that meet the intent of what you were looking for? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you.
Item 7.5 is a resolution regarding transfer payment agreements, and there is a staff recommendation that council authorize the mayor, city clerk, and chief administrative officer or their respective delegates to execute the transfer payment agreements and other necessary documentation / reports with the Ontario Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing as required for the purpose of implementing the service delivery review, reduce the use of paper business case, and enhance HR systems business case with funding from the Municipal Modernization Program Intake 3.
Moved Councillor Clifford and second by Councillor Gaffney. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Item 8 is business for which previous notice has been given and there's none scheduled. So moving to item 9, reports of the standing committees. Item 9.1 is a report of the Infrastructure, Transportation, and Safety Committee. And there are 2 items listed for consideration as follows. Item 9.1.1 is the source separated organic processing agreement. And item 9.1.2 is the encroachment application for 7 Coburg Street.
Moved by Councillor Vasilakos and seconded by Councillor Ingram. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried.
Item 9.2 is the report of the Planning and Heritage Committee, and there's 1 item listed for consideration as follows. Item 9.2.1, Planning Report, Official Plan Amendment OPA 03-21 and Zone Change Amendment Z11-21 for 30 Queensland Road.
Thank you. Mover? Councillor Clifford and Councillor Beatty seconding. Discussion? Councillor Seven.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna elaborate and get all my comments out at once here, so I don't have to keep coming back. But so, you know, I oppose this this zone change in the official plan amendment. I think I'll just refer back to the section in the official plan referring to stable residential areas. It says any intensification will be modest and incremental, which this certainly is not, in my opinion. I mean, we're going from 17 adjacent single family detached dwellings to a 6-story building, which seems that we're going from the least intense to the most intense right next door to those homes. And it also ensures no significant negative impacts on privacy and shadowing. Certainly, you know, if this is not a significant impact on privacy, I would challenge to find out what would actually be a significant impact on privacy. There's also 15 criteria under stable residential area, which there's a great deal of effort that goes into maintaining that including making sure garages are not the dominant feature in streetscapes. And yet we are proposing to allow a 6-story apartment building where we would prefer that garages are not the streetscape. So, and then the section under new high density residential areas, they are supposed to be intermixed with medium density development, which this is not. And again, to ensure no significant negative impacts on privacy and shadowing. You know, it's my feeling that this does not, it's not in conformity with the goals, objectives, and the policies of the official plan. It's actually quite at odds with some of the purposes of the official plan. I think it's hard to imagine what it would take if this development is approved. It's hard for me to imagine what it would take to have something declined or not approved. So I think it's, and it might be also time to question the value of the official plan that we have in place if we aren't taking it for much weight. So those are my concerns, and I guess I'll close by requesting a recorded vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Seven. Does anyone else wish to address this item? If not, I'll turn it over to the clerk to request or to take the recorded vote.
Through you, your worship, beginning with Councillor Seven, please state whether you are in support or opposed to the motion. Councillor Seven.
Opposed?
Councillor Bunting.
Support.
Councillor Vasilakos.
Support.
Councillor Ingram.
Support.
Councillor Burbach.
Support.
Mayor Matheson.
Support.
Councillor Henderson.
Support.
Councillor Beatty.
Support.
Councillor Ritzma.
Opposed.
Councillor Clifford.
In support.
Councillor Gaffney.
Opposed.
So through you, your worship, there are 8 in support, 3 opposed, no members are absent, and no members declared a pecuniary interest.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Item 9.3 is a report of the Finance and Labor Relations Committee, and there are 4 items listed for consideration as follows. Item 9.3.1 is consideration of the Stratford City Centre Business Improvement Area 2022 budget. Item 9.3.2 is the Santa Parade 2021 and Special Projects Reserve Fund. And then item 9.3.3 and 9.3.4 both relate to an insurance renewal for 2022 and risk management update.
Mover is Councillor Gaffney. A seconder is Councillor Vasilakos. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Item 10 is notice of intent, and item 10.1 is notice of public meeting under the Planning Act. And Stratford City Council will hold a public meeting on Monday, March 21st at 6 p.m. to hear from interested persons with respect to the following planning applications: modification to draft plan of subdivision 31T18-002, zone change application Z17-21, zone change application Z18-21, and these are all for 4110 Perth Line 36, which is part lot 1, concession 3 in the city of Stratford.
Thank you.
Moving to item 11, reading of the bylaws. There are 8 bylaws listed for consideration as follows. Bylaw 11.1 is an amending agreement with Storm Fisher Environmental for continued processing of source separated organics. Item 11.2 is an encroachment agreement for 7 Coburg Street. Item 11.3 is to adopt official plan amendment number 32. Item 11.4 is to amend zoning bylaw 201-2000 to rezone lands known municipally as 30 Queensland Road. Item 11.5 is to amend the zoning bylaw 10-2022 to rezone lands known municipally as 30 Queensland Road. Item 11.6 is to amend the delegation of authority bylaw 135-2017 with respect to restricted acts periods. And item 11.7 is a transfer payment agreement for funding under the municipal modernization program for reduced use of paper. And item 11.8 is also a transfer payment agreement for funding under the municipal modernization program enhanced HR systems. And these bylaws can be taken collectively upon unanimous vote of council present.
What I'll do is we'll make them collectively and then we will separate out, I think, 3, 4, and 5. Councillor Seven, you'd like to have them taken separately? So why don't we have that they be taken collectively for 11.1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. Councillor Bunting moving, second Councillor Vasilakos. All those in favor? So that's unanimous. We'll go to first and second reading of bylaws 11.1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. A mover is Councillor Beattie. A seconder is Councillor Henderson for first and second reading. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So third and final reading of bylaws 11.1, 11.2, 11.6, 7, and 8. Councillor Gaffney and Councillor Burback. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Someone to move and second that bylaws 11.3, 4, and 5 be taken collectively. Councillor Ingram, Councillor Burback, Councillor 7. We will still be voting on them that way, but would you like them each read individually?
No, collectively, I think it's fine. I just had a question, either for yourself, the mayor, or for the clerk. Is it possible to have a recorded vote for a collective vote, or is it only possible for one item?
No, you could have it for reading first and second reading, and you could have it for third and final reading.
Could I have, like, for third reading recorded for the three together all at once? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could ask for that, please.
Okay, that's noted. Councillor Henderson?
I just wanted to make a comment. I forgot to do it when we were talking about it, and I apologize for that. But the 30 Queensland, I know, we've only got a couple other ones in town that are 6 stories high, but because it was at the corner and facing industrial land, and that there'll be no future residents that way, I was in favor of it. If it would have been in the other corner where the Sobeys Mall used to be, I don't know if I would have gone for 6 stories. I might have gone for 5 stories. But where it is, it's facing an open space, and actually with the Sobeys Mall down now, it probably should give the people that live in that neighborhood a little bit more light. So I think, we need a lot of apartments, and it's so close to the industrial area. Like, it's right close to Wright Boulevard. People will be able to walk to work if they want it, or ride their bike. So I think it's important that we do that. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Thank you. All right, so the moved and seconded that bylaws 11.3, 4, and 5 be taken collectively. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? So 2 opposed to taken collectively, so we'll take them individually. Bylaw 11.3, a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Ingram and Councillor Vasilakos, that bylaw 11.3 be read a first and second time. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? 3 opposed. So we'll go to third and final reading with the recorded vote requested by Councillor 7 on bylaw 11.3. Is there someone that would move it? Councillor Beattie, second by Councillor Clifford. I'll turn it over to the clerk if nobody has anything they'd like to say. Over to the clerk then.
So through your worship, beginning with Councillor 7, please state whether you are in support or opposed. Councillor 7.
Opposed?
Councillor Bunting.
Support.
Councillor Vasilakos.
Support.
Councillor Ingram.
Support.
Councillor Burback.
Support.
Mayor Matheson. Councillor Henderson.
Support.
Councillor Beattie.
Support.
Councillor Ritzma.
Opposed.
Councillor Clifford.
Support.
Councillor Gaffney.
Opposed.
So through your worship, that is 8 in support, 3 opposed. There are no members absent and no declarations of pecuniary interest.
Okay, bylaw 11.3 has been moved and carried for the third and final time. Someone move first and second reading of bylaw 11.4. Councillor Vasilakos and Councillor Ingram. Councillor 7.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment. I'm not requesting a recorded vote for 4 and 5. I thought they would be collective, but 11.3, that's fine with me. So I no longer need a recorded vote. So.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of first and second reading? Opposed? 3 opposed, and that's carried. Third and final reading of bylaw 11.4, Councillor Bunting and Councillor Burbach moving and seconding. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. 3 opposed, it's carried. Bylaw 11.5, read a first and second time, Councillor Clifford and seconded by Councillor, thank you, Beatty. Councillor Beatty has seconded it for first and second reading of bylaw 11.5. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? 3 opposed, and that's carried. Third and final reading of bylaw 11.5, moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Vasilakos. Discussion. If not, all in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried.
Item 12 is the consent agenda. Are there any items listed on the consent agenda to be considered by council?
Seeing no hands,
Item 12 is new, or I'm sorry, my apologies. Item 13 is new business. Are there any new business items?
I have one, which is to ask for a motion of referral for the development of a community improvement plan to be part of the official plan review this year, as it relates for the development of housing for those with accessible needs within our community, and that it be studied as part of that process. And I'd ask for someone to move and second that. Councillor Henderson and Councillor Ritzma. Discussion. Councillor Ingram.
Those studies, I think they're incredibly worthwhile, but they can be fairly lengthy. And I'm wondering if it's maybe better off done as a standalone study as opposed to being part of the official plan review.
Would you be okay if we change it to refer to staff to bring back a recommendation on how best to proceed?
Absolutely.
Okay, would the mover and seconder agree to that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that carries unanimously. Councillor Ritzma, I saw your hand, and then Councillor Ingram.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to congratulate all those involved in the coldest night of the year event, which took place all of last week and then culminated on Saturday. We are currently at 128% of our goal of 126,000. So our total right now is $162,256. I believe that leaves us in the top 10 of all events across Canada. We had 395 walkers, 65 teams. And as people know, that these funds are going to support both the Stratford Connection Center and Stratford Perth Shelter Link, two important organizations that address chronic homelessness in our community. A big thank you to all residents and businesses that supported. A thank you as well. A big thank you, a special thank you to Council Bunting for captaining the slip sliders, who were the top donors of $11,615. And also congratulations to Mayor Matheson for leading all walkers with a total of $4,200. Donations still can be made. You can go to coldestnightoftheyear.org, and that portal will stay open till the end of March. And put it on your agenda for next year. And if you have photos of your team and that participated, by all means, send those in. So once again, a great reflection of the community that we live in Stratford. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ritzma, for your leadership, and to everyone that took part from the city's teams. Councillor Ingram, I believe you were next.
Thank you. And in keeping in the same vein as the previous comments, some more positive praise perhaps is due given the negativity in our world right now. So I'd like to take a moment to read through some comments that have been passed along to senior staff regarding our public works department, specifically our roads folks. We've had a lot of snow in the last month, and they have done some fantastic work. So some of the comments say, thank you to the City of Stratford and to all of the snowplow folks. Hibernia Street and the sidewalks are great. This was a huge job after that blizzard. Thanks to you all. Another comment says, I'm going to defend the guys that do snow plowing. We have had lots of snowfall over the last few days. They are trying to get the roads and sidewalks done with minimal sleep or no sleep at all. Please have some patience. They will get to them when they can. Another comment says, I was wondering how long it would take for people to start complaining. There has to be always something. Thanks to the city workers for spending your entire family day, long weekend, cleaning snow. I appreciate you. Then we have, thank you to all the early birds out there plowing and keeping our roads safe and prepared. Another one says, I actually thought it was quite decent today considering yesterday the way things were. That was the weekend of the blizzard. Thanks, good job and efforts work crew. A huge thanks to all of the snowplow drivers. And then one for our waste collection folks. Thank you for a job well done. So thank you to all of our snowplow operators and the people that are keeping our roads and sidewalks clean and safe and allowing our residents to get where they need to go.
Thank you, Councillor Ingham. Very kind of you to do that. Very, very deserved by our staff. Anything further? If not, a motion to adjourn to reconvene in Community Service Committee. Councillor Sabin and Councillor Ingram. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Councillor Beattie, I believe you're chairing.
Thank you. Good evening. I will call the Community Services Committee to order. Item 2 is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Item 3 are your subcommittee minutes, which you have before you. Item 4 is delegations, and we have none scheduled. Item 5 is report of our Director of Community Services, with item 5.1 being the Council Policy C.1.5, the rental of the Kiwanis Community Center. And we do have a staff recommendation for our consideration. Moved by Councillor Gaffney and second by Councillor Bunting. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call it. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Item 6 is report of the corporate initiatives lead, with item 6.1 being the advertising on the city property policy. And we do have a staff recommendation for your consideration. Moved by Councillor Clifford. Second by Councillor Henderson. Thank you. Is it questions? Councillor Sabin?
Thank you. I do support the motion. I just wanted to note my continued opposition to the idea of generating revenue through transit bench advertising.
Thank you for that. Is there any further comments? Councillor Vasilakos.
Yeah, I was one of the comments. So I'm in general, I like the idea of having a policy that allows us to sort of have a unified sort of agreement with for advertising. I am concerned about transit bench advertising from the perspective of what it tends to look like after a while. So in terms of maintenance, fading, graffiti on it sometimes. I mean like not artistic graffiti, but sort of just like, black marker. And so hopefully as we expand our advertising into the sort of on transit benches, staff are cognizant of making sure that it doesn't start to look tired or over time sort of shabby, because it can start to look that way.
Thank you for your input. I do have our Director of Community Services and our corporate lead here if there's any other further questions or comments. Councillor Ingram.
Yes, just wondering how this ties in with the sign bylaw, because this would be third-party advertising. So how does this tie in with our existing sign bylaw?
I'll turn it over to Stephanie Potter.
Thank you. Through the chair, the sign bylaw would have to be complied with under the terms of the policy. So the sign bylaw would still govern things like the sidewalk signs as well as election signs, etc. And any advertising on city property would still have to be compliant with that as well. This is more guidelines for third-party advertisers.
Thank you. So would that include the size of signs then?
Through the chair, the policy itself doesn't specify size of signs. I believe that would be contingent on the space for the advertisement that we have available.
So that then that would default back to the sign bylaw, I'm guessing.
Through the chair, I believe it would default to the sign bylaw or the size of the space that we have available on municipal property that we're allowing the ad to be placed upon.
If we could maybe have a response back when this comes back to council or committee of the whole, whenever this comes back, if we could have a response to that, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Is there any further questions for our staff? If not, seeing none. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Item 7 is a report of our manager of parks, forestry, and cemetery, with item 7.1 being the cemetery care and maintenance fund increase. And we do have a staff recommendation for your consideration. Moved by Councillor Gaffney, seconded by Councillor Ritzma. Thank you. Questions for staff, if there are any? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Item 8 is a report of the manager of transit, with item 8.1 being our electronic transit fare program. And again, we have a staff recommendation for your consideration. Moved by Councillor Burback and seconded by Councillor Seven. Questions? Councillor Henderson.
I think it would be nice if we had a little bit of explanation in the background for anybody, you know, that doesn't have access to the agenda, because this is going to be another option for the transit. And I want it to be, you know, sort of crystal clear to people that they still have the cash option, they still have the ticket option, they still have, you know, just to explain a little bit of the background of it.
For sure. We have our manager of transit, Mike Mosley, here for that information. Mike, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you. And through the chair, that would be correct. The transitioning to electronic fare is only just another option. The fare box isn't going to go away. We'll still accept cash. You'll still be able to buy tickets, paper tickets. You'll still be able to buy the paper 30-day pass. This is just another option, especially if it's late at night and you maybe can't get a ticket or a pass because some of the vendors are closed. If you have your mobile device with you, you'll be able to load up into your wallet a fare that you can show the bus operator when you get on board. So it's a little bit more from a convenience standpoint, but we'll still be accepting cash like we always have, and still accepting paper passes. It's just a little bit more secure for the customers and a little bit more greener too, that we can basically get rid of some of the paper that we have. So
thank you, Mike. Is there any further questions for our manager of transit? Councillor Henderson.
Just one comment, that there'll be an extra charge if you use that app, just like when you do the parking with the app, right? What was it, 20 cents a transaction?
That's correct. Through the chair, just like it's the same app as the parking app that we have, and the same convenience fees would be charged, just like the parking portion.
Thank you for the questions. If there are no further questions for staff, I'll call it. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried. Thank you for that. Item 9 is for the information of committee. And Dave, sorry, to our director, we have a department update. If I might just ask, with tomorrow being March 1st, if you could just provide a quick update on any of the changes that will be taking place with our community resources as of tomorrow.
Yeah, through the chair, The major one is we will not require proof of vaccination at the recreation facilities as of tomorrow. And our occupancy limits will be back to normal, so there will be no restrictions.
Great, thank you. So with that, that is the end of our communities. Oh, sorry, Councillor Henderson, I missed you there, sorry.
No, you didn't really miss me. I just put it up. I just wanted it noted that you still have to wear your mask though.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
Now, will you still have sanitizing stations out?
Through the chair, that's correct. Those sanitization stations will stay for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9.2 is the advisory committee outside board minutes that were provided for you. And item 10 is a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Clifford and seconded by Councillor Ritzma. Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone.
We'll have council reconvene. I'll turn it over to the clerk.
Through you, your worship. Item 15.1 is declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations made at standing committee to be restated at the reconvene portion?
Seeing none.
Item 15.2 is reading of the bylaws, and there is one final bylaw listed for consideration. That's bylaw 11.9, the confirmatory bylaw, which requires first and second reading and then third and final reading.
Moved by Councillor Bunning and second by Councillor Vasilakos that bylaw 11.9, the confirmatory bylaw, be read a first and second time. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Third and final reading of bylaw 11.9, Councillor Gaffney and Councillor Ritzma. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. And a motion to adjourn this evening's proceedings is moved by Councillor Ingram and Councillor Burback. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried.